Well, hello, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, and welcome to the Delta Notch Laboratory. I am your host, Delta Notch, or Michael, since we're in the lab and it's more informal. And this is a video about my setup, my equipment, and just a little bit about my general workflow when I'm putting videos and mixes together. I did not think I would put together a video like this, because every other video I've seen like this is just about people talking about their setup, which is not that impressive, and talking about how impressive they are, which I hope is not what this video is, because it is surely not my intention. But I just got home from class and had multiple, and I'm actually skipping a review session to put this video together, so first, shh. And second, don't skip review sessions. But I got home and just have had multiple messages and comments and one direct email asking specifically for a video like this, just explaining what all of this is and my setup and just a little bit about what goes on. So that's what this video is about. Now, this is the third time that I have recorded this video in a row, because the first video was 62 minutes. The second video was 53 minutes. Both of those are much too long. Not even me would want to see me talk about that for that long. Now, obviously, as you can ascertain from, or as you can recognize from both of those almost hour-long videos, I can talk about this for a very long time and will never miss an opportunity to do so. So it is going to take incredible restraint for me to keep this to 10 minutes or shorter, but I'm going to do my absolute best. So hopefully it ends up right about 10 minutes. So we're going to fly through some of this. If I don't cover something that you're interested in, it's probably because I covered it in one of those other much longer videos. So just comment or message me and I can either just answer your question, tell you more about it, or I can just send you a full video if you are interested in seeing an hour into the life and times of Delta Notch. But just a fair warning, even I am not interested in seeing an hour into the life and times of Delta Notch. So just keep that in mind. But without further ado, welcome to the Delta Notch Laboratory. So it is split into two desks, as you can see. One, the very cluttered, everything packed in there is my mixing setup. Here's my production setup, where I just pull up a chair and just plug into the wider screen and just have a little bit better view. I've got my two master speakers here, my two monitor speakers here, and that's the setup. Here, right straight in the middle of this huge honker right here, kind of the star of the show, is my Numark 4Trak controller. It's a 4-channel standalone mixer, which is absolutely phenomenal. Before I talk more about the controller, just know that if you're kind of a beginner watching this, the controller does not matter. All the controller does is control the software, what's on the computer. So first, figure out what kind of software you want. I started with, well, okay, let me show you this real quick. I started with this guy. This was a graduation present from who was my girlfriend at the time, who is now my wife, and who is the sweetest little pumpkin pie you'll ever meet. And she got this for me as a graduation present, really as a joke, like 3 or 4 years ago, really as a joke. She just knew I was into electronic music, and that was actually our first date. And if you want to know kind of a funny story, just ask me about it, or I'll send you one of the longer videos, because that's kind of funny. But she got this for me just because she knew I was into dance music, and yeah, really just kind of as a joke. And I spent hours and hours and hours and hours messing around with this. This plugs into your iPod, not your iPad, not your computer, like your iPod Touch. It plugs into this little guy, and you mix music together. It doesn't even have a mid EQ. It's bass and treble, and this was the best thing that could have happened to me, because I got the basics down. I spent so much time messing around with this, like just look at how limited you are, like this versus this. I mean, it was absolutely incredible. I wouldn't trade it for the world, and so that's why I've kept it for so long. Because it's just a great reminder about how none of this is what makes you. You are what makes you, and your creativity poured through other avenues, either this or Robin's pathology, whatever you find fits yourself best. And so that is all to say, you know, go with what you think suits you best. And whatever that is, it is what's right for you. Not what somebody else uses, not what a big name uses. Find what's right for you. All right, that's the PSA. That's the Delta Notch PSA of the day. So, all that said, this is what I did a first mix on this, and oh man, it's falling apart. I did a first mix on this, and you know what? Actually, that mix is out there somewhere. It's a 20-minute mix. It's kind of hilarious. I don't even know if I have it anymore. But it was made solely on this. I put it in a competition, mix competition. Didn't win or anything, but got to like the final bracket, got to the final round, and that was the biggest encouragement. I was hooked ever since. And so there, fast forward 3 years, now I'm from this to this. So there you go. So all that to say, use whatever you've got and whatever suits you. Because it's not any of this that makes the music, it's you that make the music. It's you and your creativity and your mind that makes the music. So there you go. So that's my whole emotional lame PSA for the day. So in any case, after that, upgraded from this to the Numark N4, which is also a great 4-channel controller, and just for numerous reasons. Again, upgraded to this, kind of the N4's big brother, which is the 4Trak. Absolutely love it. The only downside to it is that each channel does not have its own VU meters. If that doesn't matter to you, if you don't know what that means, then that's fine. And if you're still interested in the 4Trak, then go for it. Because I didn't care about that. Because this is a standalone mixer, and what that means is you can plug. You don't need to have a computer attached to it. You can plug vinyls into it. You can plug CDJs into it. You can plug an iPod into it and play through it. You have EQs. You still have. I mean, it's a mixer that you can apply to any of those modalities. And so when I got this, I thought, like, no, I'm never going to use vinyl. Like, who uses vinyl anymore? Well, okay, of course, as life turns out, now I'm playing with 2 vinyls. And now it is kind of a big crutch. There is a way around that, and so if you know what if what I'm talking about isn't flying over your head, and you're interested in that, then let me know. Send me a comment. I'll tell you kind of the way around the VU meters for vinyl and all that. But otherwise, spectacular controller. I use Traktor Pro. Yeah, like I said, I started with the iPod Touch, moved on to Virtual DJ for my next one, and then tried Serato and Traktor, and when I messed with Traktor, we just clicked. Like, it was just a good, kind of like a Harry Potter moment when he gets his wand, like the fireworks go off. That's the moment I had with Traktor. I had fireworks all over the place. I was freaking my roommates out. It was fantastic. So that's how that goes. So I'm now using Traktor Pro with the 4-deck control. Now, obviously, I don't use 4-decks, or I mean, I use 4-decks all the time. I don't play with 4-decks all the time. Obviously, nobody plays with 4-decks all the time. But if you would like to see some spectacular 4-deck action, there's a fantastic DJ online, Delta Notch, I believe is his name, that has a Close Your Eyes and Smile mix and a drum and bass mix where he's in a penguin suit, if that's right. I think it's a penguin suit. Could be giraffe. No, it's a penguin suit that he has some fantastic 4-deck action going. So make sure to check those out. But otherwise, 99% of the time, you're not playing with 4-decks. However, I always use 4-decks. I think that there's one mix I've got that you can see on my screen, and you'll always see 4-decks being used. And that's just because it's for organization purposes. So if I've got deck A and B playing, mixing those two together, then I'll also be queuing up. Oh, that's right. I've got it. Yeah, that's fine. But queuing up deck C, putting a track in there, getting a loop set, doing something, getting effects right, getting filters okay. Once deck C is set, I'll move over to deck D and do the same thing over there. Get cues set, start doing loops, whatever. And usually by the time deck D is finished, I need to be mixing out of B, and so it's just like a really good workflow. I don't like to spend too much time, back away from everything. So that's kind of my workflow. So there's that controller, my 2 vinyls, obviously, and these also kind of happened by accident. I ended up getting a record before I got a record player, actually. It was my first time in a real record store, and I'd always heard, like, I've got a friend from the UK who always talks about crate digging and finding white labels, like back in the glory days. and just I'd never been in one. So we were in San Francisco, and just found a record store, like, wow, we need to go check this out. So I did, went and checked it out, found some white labels, absolutely nothing, no writing, anything on them. You don't even know what they are until you put them on the record and like listen to them in the store. It was a fantastic experience. So I've since just been looking out record stores, and then now I've got this whole collection of them, and actually, and mum's the word, but I'm also trying to get together a vinyl only Trance to Study By mix, which I'm pretty excited about, but need to find out, that's technical stuff. No, I mean, we'll talk about it later, but good things should be on the way. So that was fun, but it's just really cool. If you have the opportunity to DJ on vinyl, take advantage. Not because I'm not the vinyl purist that you always hear about, the digital versus vinyl debate. I don't really care. But there is something just really nice. Like I play on vinyl a lot more than I thought I would, just because it's nice. Like it's interesting. It's like fresh to me. There's something nice about grabbing a record. Like just that tactile, that tangible feeling. Taking it out, finding what track you need, slapping it on, and just going for it. Like there's something really nice about it. I really enjoy it. So okay, so that's that. So I've got my two vinyls that are plugged in, so whenever I need to, I switch to the line input in the back, and I'm ready to go. And then this is what I'm kind of excited about. So you remember the remix decks? Obviously, anybody who's familiar with Traktor knows about the whole remix decks. Well, they were released. The remix decks were released like 2 years ago, but they could only be controlled from the Control F1 controller. And so like if you look at this, I don't have room for another controller, unfortunately. And it's a bummer because I was so excited about these remix decks, because I'm always tweaking things. And actually, like it's this last weekend, tweaking things that I kind of got into trouble actually, which is kind of funny. But I'm always tweaking stuff, just trying to take things to the next level, try to exploit things as much as I can, which is why this little DJ thing, took me so far, is because I was always trying to mess around with things to see how far I could take it. So really, I was using these remix decks, or what I think using these remix decks before they were available. Like I'd have track deck A and B going, and then I would set I'd set a 1 beat, maybe like a 1 beat loop on deck C on like a really cool snare, like a really cool hi-hat or some kind of cool lead pad that I just thought had like a cool texture or something to it. And so I'd slap on some reverb, make it like a really long reverb, a post fader effect so it would last once I put the fader down, crank it up, make the filter really, really high so it'd be like a high shh kind of sound. And then whenever these two are going, like at the flick of a switch, I'd go shh, and it would go down, and on top of that I could increase the size of the reverb, so it goes shh. Really cool stuff. And so basically I was doing what you can do with a remix deck before they were available. And so I was so pumped when that remix deck came out, and then you can only control it with an F1. Well, I wasn't going to get another piece of equipment, of controller, because I don't even have room for it. And it was funny because I was thinking like, what, I mean, it's a new controller, so it's going to be pricey. It's like $200, I think, which is nothing to sneeze at. It's not a ton compared to some of the other stuff, but I mean, $200 is still $200, And so I was thinking about, well, am I actually gonna spring for that? Is that worth it? Because I'm kind of doing a lot of it already. And then I was thinking, like, it's only a MIDI controller. All it is just something that controls the software. But Traktor hadn't put in the ability yet to MIDI map things to that remix deck. And so when they finally did, which is like that 2.6.1 something update, which everybody was crazy about, and which I was crazy about, because now we can finally map stuff to those remix decks without getting the F1. But the F1 was still really popular, and was still like at that $200 mark, and I didn't understand why. And then I looked into it because I was still considering about getting it, like really, really strongly considering about getting it, and it turns out with that F1 comes 2 gigabytes of Native Instruments' own samples and loops, and that's a ton. I mean, everybody can use, you can always use more samples, I suppose, but 2 gigs worth of those like 4-bar loops and one-shot samples, that is a ton of samples. Like imagine 2 gigs of like one-shot, like 2 kilobyte samples, like of snares or whatever. That's a ton. And so that's what I was really excited about. But then I started thinking about it. You know, it's MIDI mappable. You can get, I can do that with any of this. I could map this to do the remix deck if I wanted to. But the whole point about the remix deck is, you know, like I wanted to do my own stuff. I wanted to find that cool snare in a track like I had on deck C and be able to slap a reverb on it and go, shh. You know, I wanted to have like that kind of control over it. I wanted to make my own stuff. I wanted to put my own production. I wanted to take my own production, bounce a 4-beat loop down into Traktor, have my own stuff, and so I wouldn't even use those 2 gig of samples. And so anyway, long story short, I got this guy long before even the remix decks came out, just because I wanted to have like a keyboard, really, because I was doing my production stuff on the QWERTY keyboard, which also again worked fine. Like if you don't need new equipment, don't go out and get it just because somebody else has it. It was working fine, but I just felt a little, and maybe it's because my own spatial cognitive, you know, tasking is not up to par. Like who knows? But I would just get upset because I'd be trying to play something in my software, and I would hit the R key that I thought was a sharp, but it turns out I'm a few keys down. It was just I couldn't handle it. So I found this for a great deal online, snatched it up, and it has been phenomenal. And then so I was using it just for production, and then when the update to Traktor came out about this mappable remix deck, I realized when you look at this thing, if you're familiar, if you know what an F1 looks like, this is 3/4 of an F1, basically. You've got your 8 drum pads. F1 has 16. You got your 8 drum pads, and you've got your 8 encoders. F1 has 4 faders and 4 rotary encoders. And so right here, I realized, you know what, this is an F1, basically. I wasn't going to use the 2 gigs of samples anyway because I was going to make my own stuff, so here's my F1. So anyway, that whole however long I spent, 15 minutes or whatever, ranting about that, all results in what I'm really proud of, is I have now mapped this, this is the Akai MPK Mini, little mini MIDI keyboard controller. And so I now have this mapped to the remix decks from Traktor. And so, and it is just phenomenal. And actually, yeah, what I was talking about, I'm always tweaking with stuff. I tweaked it a little bit this weekend, and I screwed something up. So I got to go back and fix it. But what happened? It won't work now. Well, I guess you can't see now anyway because the camera's not right. But so it all works out. There you go. So how I've got it set is 4 different programs. So I put in a record program. If I've got something playing, I set this one to what do I want it to record? Do I want the loop to recorder to do the loop, or the main, the cue, the auxiliary, or the external? And so I'll say cue. I want it to record either 4, 8, 16, or 32 beats. So we'll do 4. I've got my dry wet of the loop recorder, which is coming out the main. And then here's my record, there's my play pause, and my delete. There we go. And so that's that. Once I take it out of record, and then once it's in there, once that loop is set, I can bounce it down to any remix slot that I want. So I'll set another program, I'll bounce that down to any remix slot that I want. It's fantastic. So once I'm there, once I've got it in a remix slot, I've got I either set this for deck C or deck D, and then I've got my 8 samples here that I can trigger. Just trigger, stop, retrigger, and it is absolutely phenomenal. So here I've got, so we'll play that. So I just recorded that 4-beat loop. I bounced it down on my pad 1, play it. I've got my volume, turn up the volume all the way, and then right here I've got my filter, high pass, low pass. So there you go. And so if anybody's interested in that mapping, I don't know if anybody uses Traktor and the MPK Mini. Once I get it back to how it's actually supposed to be, once I fix it, then I can send you that mapping to make life a hell of a lot easier, because that was heartbreaking to get this all set up. I was in turmoil for weeks and weeks and weeks. Because if you're familiar with the Traktor mapping, you know it's phenomenal. It's incredible. It's absolutely comprehensive. But it's tough. Yeah, it's tough. So once I get it all figured out, then I can send it to you. And it's funny because somewhere in the process of doing that, I was messing around with the preset editor, and I got the keyboard to move one note up. And so when you're doing like production stuff, what I was playing did not sound at all like it actually is. And I realized because like your middle C is not middle C anymore, this is your middle C. And so I just thought that was kind of funny. Like everything got moved up one note, and I gotta figure out what's going on. So there's that. Last final thing, just kind of cool thing. And again, that major theme through everything. Just work with what you got. This is it's a Korg Pandora PXR4. I don't even know if they make it anymore. It's like 2002. But my dad, he's a big guitar player. He still plays guitar on the weekends, like back at a church back home. And it's just like it's got a guitar input or a line input. It's got record functions. You record them. It's got 4 tracks, and just you can add effects onto each one of them, mix them however you'd like. It's just kind of like a cool little thing. And that's kind of like because you won't see this anywhere else. So I'm trying to mess around with it, using it as an external recorder, like for the vinyl. So maybe I can get that vinyl transit study by going, and also as a send and return effects unit. So that's kind of cool. So I'm still messing around with it. I'll let you know if I can get anything cool out of it and I can get it to work. But I think that is much long enough for me to talk. I think I'm past my deadline, like my 10-minute deadline. I think I'm long past it. But so this is the Delta Notch laboratory. That's kind of a setup of everything. If you want to see more or know more, just let me know. And because obviously I would love to talk about it more. I think that's about it. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me, Delta Notch, in the Delta Notch laboratory. And please check out either very soon or probably now the Close Your Eyes and Smile mix on my channel, where I'll be using all this really cool remix deck stuff for the first time on a mix, and as well as just some other great stuff. In the meantime, check out facebook.com/DeltaNotch to keep in touch and just have a conversation about mixing or about production or about Robin's pathology. And thank you very much. Study on.